Thank you, Mr. President. I rise today to discuss a very serious topic, viral gain-of-function research. And I'm calling on this body to place a pause in all viral gain-of-function research, just like President Obama did in 2014. Maybe I'll start with an analogy. Could you imagine the United States participating in nuclear research and sending our scientists, sending our money to foreign adversaries to help them with their nuclear weapons research right now? Say a country like Iran or a country like North Korea. But of course, no one in this body would suggest that that's a smart thing to do. But people can't see what viral gain-of-function is, so they're not afraid of it, but they should be. Think about this. Nuclear bombs have killed 2, 3, maybe 400,000 people at the max. 2, 3, maybe 400,000 people. But viral gain-of-function research through COVID has killed over 1 million Americans, and then worldwide it's at least 10 times that, maybe 20 times that. And we still have 15 million long COVID sufferers. But we continue to fund, we continue to participate in viral gain-of-function research. And I would, stop and ask this body, what do we have to show for it? 30 years of viral gain-of-function research, and what are the benefits? What have we benefited from this? And just like in January of 2020, when I was the first member of Congress to sound the alarm on COVID virus and the consequences and the pandemic that was coming, I'm here once again to sound this alarm. Think about this. Why is this a concern to anybody? Well, first of all, I want to just talk about the risk of lab leaks. No matter what biosecurity level this research is done in, there's going to be risk of a lab leak. There's human error. There's mechanical error. People not following protocols. We've seen it over and over again, and that's actually what led to the pause in 2014 by President Obama. Laboratories, regardless of their biosafety levels, are not infallible. Human error, equipment failure, unforeseen accidents can lead to the escape of enhanced pathogens into the general population. The consequences of such an event has proven to be catastrophic. We've witnessed this firsthand through the COVID-19 pandemic, then just how fast a virus could spread throughout the world. A virus that's engineered to be more contagious or more deadly can cause an even more severe global death crisis, even worse than what we saw with COVID-19. Something people seldom talk about is the threat of bio-research, of biosecurity when it comes to our food supply. Just like the Chinese developed a COVID virus to attack human lungs, they could develop new viruses that could attack our beef cattle, our pigs, our dairy. They could find new viruses to attack the wheat in Kansas. All these things are very feasible by viral gain-of-function research. And I'm very concerned about the risk of weaponization of these viruses, that all of these have a military potential, what we would call bioterrorism. Everything has a dual purpose. In America, we don't think about that. We always think about science being research for the good, but what we found over and over is rogue nations can use this type of research for the very, very worst. I just want to dive a little bit deeper into this subject and this threat of bioterrorism. Knowledge and techniques developed through gain-of-function research can potentially be misused by malicious actors. If detailed methodologies for enhancing pathogens are published or otherwise become accessible, they can be easily exploited to create biological weapons. These can be created by people with minimal means. They're called terrorists. They wouldn't have to go through the hassle, the time and expense of developing a nuclear weapon. They could develop even more easily developed biological weapons that are even more deadly. The potential for such misuse makes the dissemination of research findings in this field particularly perilous, and it lowers the barrier for entry for those who might wish to cause us harm. Ethically, gain-of-function research raises significant questions. Is it morally acceptable to create pathogens with pandemic potential, knowing the immense suffering they could cause if accidentally or, heaven forbid, deliberately released? The scientific pursuit of knowledge must be balanced with responsibility and awareness of the broader consequences. The principles that I swore an oath to as a physician: do no harm. Above all, do no harm. It should guide every one of our actions when we're funding science. But yet, gain-of-function research walks a tightrope between potential benefits and catastrophic risk. Public trust in science and research institutes is another critical aspect. Higher profile accidents or ethical breaches have eroded public confidence, making it even more difficult to garner support for necessary scientific endeavors. Transparency, accountability, and stringent regulatory frameworks are essential to maintain this trust. And that's why we're here today, calling for this body to pass our Viral Gain-of-Function Research Moratorium Act. Our bill will prohibit federal funding of this research, allowing time for an honest conversation about the pros and cons of gain-of-function research, setting up guardrails, and ensure a system of checks and balances. Getting transparency for the American people for what happened during the pandemic shouldn't be controversial. I hope my colleagues will join me in agreeing that if we can't measure it, we can't manage it, especially when we're discussing the creation of lethal viruses at the taxpayer's expense. The federal government should not provide another dime in funding for viral gain-of-function research in the deceptive name of global health and national security. For these reasons, I'm proud to be back here on the Senate floor to sound the alarm again and call for the immediate passage of our bill, the Viral Gain-of-Function Moratorium Act. I want to conclude by thanking Senators Braun and Lee for their support of this resolution, and we look forward to continuing the discussion on this issue with our colleagues. Mr. President, as in legislative session and notwithstanding Rule 22, I ask unanimous consent the Senate proceed to the consideration of Senate Resolution 718, which is at the desk. Further, that the resolution be agreed to, the preamble be agreed to, and that the motions to reconsider be considered, made, and laid upon the table with no intervening action or debate.